All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on something pretty fascinating and maybe a little unsettling. It's the hidden world of influence and manipulation, what's often called dark psychology. We're diving deep to decode those subtle, invisible forces that can shape our thoughts, our feelings, our actions, a lot of times without us even having a clue. So let me just kick this off with a pretty big question for you. I want you to think about the decisions you've made just today. You know, what you ate, what you chose to believe, who you agreed with in a conversation. Are you sure those decisions were 100% you? Or, just maybe, are you being guided by some invisible strings?
Okay, let's get right into it. The truth is, our choices are constantly being shaped, on a massive scale, by systems we almost never stop to question. And these are the invisible strings of influence.
Let's just break this down with a few big examples you see every day. Take our education systems, right? They're literally designed to shape us to fit into societal norms. Then you've got advertising, which is an absolute master at targeting our insecurities to create this feeling of need for a product. And what about politics or even sports? It often creates these competing groups, right? That us versus them feeling. It builds this incredible loyalty. Heck, some sources even point to the additives in our food and water, questioning how they might be changing our brain chemistry, maybe even making us more passive. All of these, they're the huge, society-wide examples of those invisible strings at work.
So, those are the big societal forces. But what about the more personal, one-on-one stuff? This is where we get into what you could call the manipulator's playbook, the real core of dark psychology.
You know, in psychology, there's actually a clinical term for the personality traits most often tied to these behaviors. It's called the dark triad. It's this nasty combination of three things. Narcissism, which is that inflated sense of self-importance. Machiavellianism, which is basically being willing to exploit and deceive anyone to get what you want. And psychopathy, that chilling lack of empathy and remorse.
And you can see on this slide how these same manipulative dynamics can pop up in completely different places, but the pattern is eerily similar. You've got Alice, whose father's constant criticism is dressed up as helping her get better, or look at Julie, her partner is constantly bringing up a past failure to kill her passion for art. And then there's Jolly, at work with a new boss who's just burying her in pointless tasks so she can't get ahead. See? The location changes, home, a relationship, the office, but the tactic is exactly the same. It's all about control, just disguised as something else, like care or concern or even good management.
Ah, a classic. This is a key tool in the manipulator's box, a tactic called gaslighting. This phrase is specifically designed to make you doubt your own feelings, to make you think your emotional reaction is the problem.
And here's another one, just a flat-out denial of reality. The goal with this is to literally erode your trust in your own memory. If they can do that, you become more and more dependent on their version of what happened.
Oof, and this one is especially nasty. It's a direct shot at your sanity. By calling you crazy, the manipulator gets to paint themselves as the calm, rational one, which just makes you feel even more unstable.
So, do any of these phrases, or maybe those situations, ring a bell? Because this is where it all starts. Just recognizing the patterns in your own life is the first step. So why in the world are these tactics so effective? Well, it's because they aren't just words. They are, for all intents and purposes, hacks. They exploit the way our brains are actually wired.
First off, it's really important we draw a line between persuasion and manipulation. They both try to influence, sure, but their goals are totally different. Persuasion, that's about trying to change someone's thoughts, getting them to agree with you. But manipulation, that's about controlling their behavior. It's about getting them to do something, and usually it's not in their own best interest. It's a huge leap from influencing a mind to controlling a person.
So what are the tools of this so-called hack? Well, manipulators love to tap into our unconscious mind. That's where all our hidden urges and old traumas are stored. They trigger our limbic system, which is basically our brain's primal survival center. It's responsible for those big emotions like fear and anger that can just totally short-circuit our logical thinking. And they prey on moments of what's called unfreezing, like after a traumatic event, when we're questioning everything, leaving us wide open to someone else's influence.
And another huge one they exploit, our own built-in cognitive biases. This one's incredibly powerful. It's our tendency to judge information based on who is saying it, not just on the information itself. We create these positive or negative associations with people all the time, and that totally colors how we see things. A smart manipulator works hard to become that person you trust, that person you like. And once they've got that spot, we're way more likely to just accept their version of reality, even when the actual facts are screaming something else.
Okay, so we've seen the playbook, we've seen how it works. That brings us to the most important question. How do you defend yourself? How do you actually build a mental shield against this stuff?
The ultimate defense isn't some clever comeback or a perfectly logical argument. It's emotional intelligence. It really just boils down to the ability to recognize what you're feeling, understand why you're feeling it, and then manage that emotion so it doesn't end up controlling your actions.
Let's see what this looks like in the real world. There's a famous story about Steve Jobs. He was at a conference, and someone in the audience just publicly attacked him. Now, he didn't snap back. What did he do? First, he paused, just stopped. He took a sip of water, which is a brilliant little trick to force yourself to breathe. Then he reframed the whole situation, really calmly. And only after all that, after he had gathered his thoughts, did he respond. That, right there, is the crucial difference between reacting on impulse and responding with intention.
A huge part of this is knowing your own triggers. What people, what situations consistently set you off. And this is the important part. Ask yourself why. Is it really about what they just did? Or are they poking at some old wound? Figuring out the root cause of your emotional reactions is the first and, honestly, the most critical step toward getting control over them.
Okay, but what if you realize you're already in a manipulative situation? How do you start to take back your power and get back in the driver's seat of your own life?
So here's a clear step-by-step game plan. Step 1, get a second opinion. Talk to someone you trust, someone outside the situation to get a reality check. Step 2, you got to separate the cold hard facts from your assumptions about why they're doing it. When you feel ready, step 3 is to confront them, but do it calmly. Choose the right time and place. And here's a great technique called camera check feedback. You describe their behavior, what a camera would have seen, like you raised your voice. You don't attack their character by saying you're an angry person. See the difference? And super important, document everything, write it down. And finally, step 6, there's absolutely no shame in seeking professional help to help you navigate this and heal.
The key here, the really big takeaway, is making a fundamental shift in your mindset. It's all about moving from feeling like a passive victim to becoming an active problem solver. You start focusing on proactive solutions, things that are actually within your control, instead of getting stuck on the things you can't change.
And that pretty much brings us full circle. We looked at all these different forces that are trying to pull our strings, from these massive societal systems all the way down to intensely personal manipulators. But here's the thing. Awareness is power. It really is. So now that you can see the strings, who's really in control? Well, that answer is now up to you.